Meanwhile, America has started the new economic sanctions as Russia is more expansive and crippling. But the West's sanctions strategy has clearly not stopped Russia from halting its invasion, and it has also not hit Russia where it hurts the most. The United States as well as the European Union have both targeted the Russian financial sector, but no crushing sanctions on Russia's energy sector have been announced. Russia supplies almost about one-third of Europe's natural gas. The gas goes to serve the same nations who are now confronting Russia over Ukraine. Russia is to natural gas what Saudi Arabia is to oil. Russia sits on nearly about $630 billion of reserves. For decades, gas and oil have been the centerpiece of the Soviet and now the Russian economy. With 32% of established world reserves, Russia outranks Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Russia's gas company Gazprom single-handedly holds a quarter of all world's gas reserves. It also controls almost about 90% of the Russian output. Russia is also dependent on the European markets as well. Energy accounts for about half of Russia's export earnings. If the US further sanctions Russia, then the flow of natural gas could of course be a bit of a collateral damage. The American president has particularly mentioned that the actions to punish Russia's economy are not intended to hit the global energy markets. So oil and gas flows will not be targeted, which means that Russia will of course continue to make millions per day selling cheap gas to Europe. And although Europe has been making a lot of noises showing its solidarity for the people in Ukraine, it will not stop purchasing cheap gas from Russia.
We're taking active steps to bring down the cost, and American oil and gas companies should not exploit this moment to hike their prices to raise profits. In our sanctions package, we specifically designed to allow energy payments to continue. We are closely monitoring energy supplies for any disruption. We've been coordinating with major oil producing and consuming countries toward our common interest to secure global energy supplies.
Now, another weapon that is obviously likely to hurt Russia is the SWIFT payment systems. SWIFT is a very discreet but an important cog in the machinery of international banking and finance. More than 11,000 financial institutions in over 200 countries use SWIFT. It can be described as the backbone of international financial transfer system. SWIFT's exclusion of Russia would of course cripple Russia's ability to trade with much of the world. It could be one of the most disruptive moves that the West could of course deploy against Russia. An exclusion from SWIFT, however, is also not on the cards. The White House has pointedly refused despite the Ukrainian president pleading for such a move. The Western nations had threatened to exclude Russia from SWIFT in 2014 following its annexation of Crimea. But excluding such a major country is of course a bit of a risk. It could spur Moscow to accelerate the development of an alternate transfer system. The West believes that economic sanctions are, at this point of time, the most powerful weapons that they can deploy in their foreign policy arsenal. However, by failing to hit Russia's bottom lines, the sanctions aren't exactly in any major way denting the Russian economy, as the West is of course claiming its sanctions intend to do. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.